Welcome to my channel. My name is Alex and I travel full-time with my cat and my FJ Cruiser. Sometimes we take the travel trailer with us, other times all we've got is our overlanding setup. Last week I took you off-roading with me in a super secret location in Rocky Point, Mexico. This week we're going off-roading at Black Mountain Beach and Competition Hill. Being in Mexico really re-inspired that tiny home dream that sent me on my RV journey. I was really impressed with how the Americans who had permanent RV lots had built them out. These things had garages, rooftop decks, but not a single person would sell their lot. So I started talking to this guy who told me about his real estate agent, and he invited me to go off-roading with the two of them at Black Mountain Beach so that we could bounce some ideas around and have a good time.
Is that a yes?
No. Are you filling up too?
No, I'm gonna get some water.
Oh, I'm at quarter tank. I figured I might as well fill up so I don't have to worry about it on the way back.
Anybody else?
So I was going to fill up before I got there, but I made a wrong turn, got lost, and just barely made it there on time. The line was super long, so I do wish I had filled up before getting there and just been late because it would have cost us less time, but eventually we got to Black Mountain Beach. As soon as we got there, the very first thing we did was air down. The guys had off-road or all-terrain tires. I still had my highway tires. I went down to 20 psi, which they agreed was a reasonable number. I will say the sand right here was more compact, so there was plenty of traction. I don't really think anybody could get stuck right here, but I have an FJ, so maybe that's a biased point of view being used to driving that off-road. But once you get to these back roads behind the beach, that's when it gets tricky, and over there is where we're gonna go later. Last week, I promised that I was going to show you a really cool rig, and if you haven't figured that out yet, that would be the SUV directly in front of us. The vehicle in front of us is an Isuzu Vehicross. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that V word correctly, so I will put it up on the screen so you can pronounce it for yourself or research the vehicle if you so desire. It was really impressive. I mean, there was really nothing on the trails that we ran that day that it couldn't tackle. Granted, the driver was more experienced than the rest of us, and it was heavily modified because he's super good with off-road vehicles, but still, it was really impressive. Case in point, the Isuzu ran up this very loose sand like it was nothing, but Samson was not having it.
No. It's in 3. Go all the way down? Okay. Let me back out of the hole I dug though. It's not getting the traction to go up.
The two main problems is that I was running highway tires and that I hadn't aired down all the way because I didn't want to do it. It's too much work to air it back up when I'm done. But Samson had a trick up his sleeve to save my butt.
Yeah, too low. Oh, you want this in low?
Yes.
There we go.
Now you'll get up it. Now they just put that in drive. Yeah.
Drive.
The RR diff lock. Put
Yeah,
that.
it's
Press
on.
that.
It's on.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Now it's. Turn that off again. Okay, so it went off. Then it went. Oh, that's just the ABS. Okay, see. Now this says it's locked, but now that is blinking red, probably because you have to drive a little bit to engage it.
Well, let me back up. It's still blinking red.
Well, I think you have to go forward.
It's not blinking, but the X is still on.
While editing this video, one of the things that I found interesting was how much I had to turn the steering wheel just to get the truck to stay straight. Someone once told me that driving on sand is like driving on ice and snow, but I don't know. I don't think that's true. I think I would hit a skid if I tried that on snow and ice. Either way, with the rear lock on, Samson made it up real quick and real easy.
That time was easy.
Now go back and do this. Now you got
Hell no.
now you got your buttons figured out. Miles an hour.
It was though. It's up the hill, and they wanted it.
Well, you may not need it. I mean, this thing's strong enough that it's fine, and your tires aren't too oversized. So.
No, these are stock tires.
Yeah.
As you can see, when we left the beach, we decided that we were going to go up the hill or mountain that I assume gives Black Mountain Beach its name. It got more and more technical the further along we went. The Isuzu driver actually had to get out twice to spot me. This time I was okay. The time before though, I got real close to scratching the side of the FJ on this enormous rock that I didn't even see, but thankfully he saw it. And then I decided, you know what, this is great, but this is where I'm gonna park my truck. We actually did continue going upwards. I just left my FJ. I hopped in the Isuzu to go up, and I rode back down in the Tacoma. I will say that the Tacoma had really horrible ride quality. I was really shocked because I thought it was bad in the FJ. I will never complain again. I think the issue is there was no weight in the back of the Tacoma, and that made the suspension and the ride just really springy. The Isuzu was much better, about the same ride quality as the FJ. I think what reduced it, considering that it's heavily modded and would have been better than the FJ, is that it's top heavy from being lifted and it has that enormous tire on top. So at this point, we decided to go to Competition Hill, which is a super popular off-roading spot in Rocky Point, Mexico. When we got to Competition Hill, the Isuzu driver had us all park up side by side, all three of us, and then he got out and gave us advice. He told me not to go up on the left side because the sand is much looser there. Instead, I should stick to the right where the sand was more compact. We also had a conversation about what to go up in, and I decided to try 4 high and then try 4 low. Unfortunately, I have to preface the rest of this video by saying that this was the last of it for the Isuzu that had done so well and been so impressive and looked so good, because the poor girl suffered injuries up on top of the trail and was the only one out of the 3 of us that limped off the trail. I haven't spoken to the guy since, so I don't know if he fixed it, but I really hope he did. This is the same footage, but looking ahead at the Isuzu. So he takes off in front of me, and the truck was supposed to continue behind me. And we continued up the hill. The Isuzu, as you can see, just kept on going and going and going. I mean, it was like a dot by the time I was halfway up the hill. Unfortunately, going up and high was probably not the best idea because I did lose traction and lose momentum, and it was a really bumpy ride. The Tacoma was right behind me, so he pulled up to make sure that I was okay. I confirmed I was fine, so he continued up the hill, and I said I would go back down and try again in 4 low. But then I started pointing upward because I looked up and the Isuzu driver had popped his hood, and we were wondering what was going on. So at this point, I get out of the truck to kind of get a better look because the Isuzu driver started signaling with his hands and we couldn't figure out what he was trying to say. What he was telling us was to go back down the hill, and so that's what I did. As you can imagine, we were all super concerned and wondering what happened to the Isuzu. He thought that maybe he had blown an engine rod when he floated up the hill, but it turned out to be way more serious than that. So we escorted him back to his place, and then I went back to the RV park, pulled in, parked in front of Jazzy, and then proceeded to wash the truck in the dark because I had taken him on the beach. If you're wondering whether this is a place that you can spend time at by yourself and be safe, that's a very good question. Some places in Mexico are safe and some places are not. You should always ask the locals or US expats who have lived there for a while. I asked and they said it was fine for me to go there by myself, so I did. I find since I've been in Mexico and just in general being on the road, people find it very strange that I like to go spend time by myself. I think a lot of people see this young lady traveling alone and they think, "Aw, she must be lonely. Let us take up all of her time," without realizing that I chose to travel by myself so that I could have my time for me. So what exactly was I doing on the beach? Well, I put my solar panels on the roof. I had my laptop. I plugged it directly in. It's really cool. I've never had another solar panel that can do that. And then I sat there and I worked on my novel. Yes, I write. If you didn't know, that's what I do for a living. And then when I was done, I went home. So next week, I will take you guys with me across the border. This is my first time crossing back into the United States. And the reason I went back to America was to get my rooftop tent and to try to get it installed. That is a whole other drama next week, which I will share, and you guys can decide what you think about what happened because I certainly have my own opinions. I post videos every Friday, so hopefully I will see you next week. Bye.